Russia, which was the base foundation of how Stalin ruled and why your country was seen as such an evil country. You had over 28,000 executions a year. That's just on executions, not deaths in the Gulag system, prison system, none of that. You 28,000. You created a police system called the Cheka, whose entire base of operations, what they did was to torture people that you didn't like. Torture them. They would place barbed wire crowns in their heads and watch them die. They would stone people to death by having over 10 people throw some people until they would die. They would be dunked in boiling water, and you would be scalped. You openly said that you desired terror in your people and did not 100% agree with, and if you did not, and that anybody that did not 100% disagree with the revolution would instantly be murdered in cold blood. You hung peasants to set examples for other workers, and any workers that went on strike, you would immediately kill. You constructed a famine that against landowning peasants because you deemed them against the revolution, so you could seize their land and make your regime stronger. The living conditions of the average Russian during your reign had become so bad that Herbert Hoover had to make an operation to fly your own citizens out of the country into the U.S. where they could live happily.
All right, rebuttal to any of that.
Even though I created a repressive and authoritarian regime over Russia killing many lives, it was all necessary. My country was being attacked on all sides, both by Germany during World War I and by the Russian Civil War as well. The measures were difficult, but they were necessary. This situation isn't ideal at all whatsoever, and I did what I had to do, and I did what I thought was best to make sure that Russia didn't fall into a worse state than it already was in. And eventually my work laid the foundations to help Russia industrialize and become a modern superpower. And it stayed as a world power because of the foundations I laid for it to become a modern economic power. Even if it's led by an idiot that thinks Ukraine is Russia.
All right, opposition research, go ahead, Len.
Reforms don't mean anything if they get reverted back right after your reign ends. In fact, your own brother refused to see you on your deathbed because of your horrendous work. And you're so insecure and such a failure that you decided to put "Here lies Joseph II who killed all you undertook" on your own gravestone. You choked your country with over 600 decrees a year, and you were hated by everyone, which is an amazing achievement. The clergy was gutted, and the peasants' way of life had been destroyed as you destroyed the church. You threw your country into political and social turmoil, doing more harm than good, and your death at 48 years old was a miracle and a mercy to the people who had to deal with your crap. You were so useless that future leaders eventually did your reforms anyway, showing how worthless your reforms were in the long run, despite being progressive. They did nothing, affected nothing, and made you more of a problem than a help to Austria. And it's no wonder you had to repeal your reforms and increase censorship before you died to stop everyone from revolting in the Austrian Netherlands and Hungary. Unlike you, I was actually successful with radical reform in my country, laying the foundations for a superpower while making unparalleled progress in women's rights.
All right, rebuttal.
And what I would say, research double or you're in trouble. First of all, not only were my reforms redone, but they were redone because of me. There was an entire ideology in Austria called Josephism. So you can't say that they did nothing when just because that my reforms were so ahead of its time and I was so progressive, I did all my reforms so fast, and my people weren't ready. And because I saw that and identified that, I pulled back, unlike somebody who killed millions of people in the prison system. On top of that, not only did I not just give reforms, I completely revolutionized my military system. I reformed the judicial system, and I lowered the power of the nobles and increased the power of the peasants, and made a better middle class. So you can't say that I gutted the peasants' lives. That's just not true. Even just because I changed the way the church was, didn't gut their lives. I 100% increased the quality of life of all my people in the country. It's just not right.
All right, closing statements. Joseph?
Sorry. Overall, you did nothing except for set a foundation for somebody who was somehow more authoritarian and stupid than yourself. Sure, Russia became a great superpower, but they were seen as an evil power, and they had to be stopped by many different countries, and especially America coming into the Cold War. So you laid a foundation for your country to become strong and be torn back down again when the USSR fell, because you thought that it would be a good idea to make your country more powerful, even though everybody hated you. Your reforms and your course of action throughout your ruling makes no sense. You're just a power-hungry, paranoid idiot.
Go ahead, closing.
You are less than a footnote in European history. Your reforms didn't last, and you died a pathetic death with nobody by your side, and with nobody to support you. Nobody supported you. The nobles and the peasants. Even though you did reforms, for your people, they didn't like it anyway, so there was no point. My work, on the other hand, uplifted Russia to a modern superpower, and it stayed that way, even if my country is currently ruled by an idiot. But you can't say the same.
All right, thank you very much. Go ahead and get those Chromebooks.